Let's do it. Let's go.
Welcome to NFL on NBC on YouTube. My name is Pat Kerrane. I'm joined by Kyle Dvorchak. Kyle, how's it going?
It's going well. I mean, it'd be better if we had even a halfway decent football game last night. It'd be better if I hadn't drafted a bunch of Broncos, all that kind of stuff. But, it's a good slate at least.
I'm going to let the people in behind the curtain here. I got a chance to go up on the Matthew Berry Fantasy Football Happy Hour this week on Wednesday. That's normally a day that I write. So I did not watch the game last night. I was writing instead and couldn't be happier about it. The reactions on Twitter and everything. I will go back and watch the game, but I'm going to watch it knowing it's terrible.
Nothing, man.
No, I got to say, at this point, it's like a bad movie.
That's true. That's true.
How Did This Get Made? It's going to do a podcast episode on it. I'm actually excited now that I know it's this bad, but it was fun not to have to experience it live and see the tilt. But let's get into this. So for everyone, if you're not familiar with the show, this is our DFS kind of preview show plus start sit questions. So people are firing in start sit questions into the chat. Good. Do that now. We're going to get to those questions in about 15 to 20 minutes, answer them for about 15 minutes. Then at the end of the show, 150, we'll do another 10 minutes of questions to catch any that we didn't miss. So far, we haven't gotten all the questions. So fire in your questions now, but only fire it in once. If I see your question in twice, and I see it before I read it, which I might not, but if I do, I'm not reading it. So fire it in once.
You're in big trouble, mister.
You're in big trouble. But let's talk about DFS before we get into some start sit questions here, which we'll do around 120. The DFS slate, I haven't built a ton on it yet, but it strikes me as maybe like a little bit more fun, at least on DraftKings, than we've had over the last couple weeks. A little bit easier to build some stuff. Kind of like multiple paths. Let's start at quarterback. We'll go quarterback, running back before our first start sit break. One of the things that jumps out to me is that, with Tom Brady in a pretty good spot, you can, for like what feels like the first time all year, really feel comfortable just going away from several high-priced quarterbacks on the slate. Like this is a slate with high-priced, very strong quarterback options, but at the same time, we have guys who are lower priced in good spots. I think Trevor Lawrence would be another guy that comes to mind where, maybe there's an alternate path here than paying up for Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, etc.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I take away from this sort of initial look at quarterbacks too, is Tom Brady at 6K. He's priced based on the fact that up until last week, it was just dud. Like he hadn't even crossed. He hadn't crossed 15 fantasy points. And last week he was less than a point shy of 30. Crushed the 300-yard bonus, 385, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And like obviously the counting stats are good, but what we care about is the fact they had a plus 16 pass rate over expected. They got all of the receivers back in the lineup. And the pumpkin turned back into whatever the pumpkin is the good version of in Cinderella. Is that like the carriage or something?
The carriage,
right?
The pumpkin became a carriage. Yeah,
the pumpkin became a carriage.
We never use that. We never say it becomes a carriage. I like it. Let's start doing it.
The pumpkin became a Ferrari. It turned back into a Ferrari after spending the first 3 weeks as a rotten old pumpkin. They're doing the fun stuff again. But the field does recognize that. I think he'll be. I kind of still think Allen will be more popular, but I don't know. It could end up being Tom Brady as the most popular quarterback of the slate. Trevor Lawrence could be up there too. To me, I probably wouldn't be that interested. They don't have a massive team total. I think I would honestly just eat a little bit of chalk with Brady over him. Josh Allen, he should always I honestly think he should always be the number one most owned quarterback. He's just, his worst game came last week and he was just under 25 points. Their pass rate is just absurd. So you're not too worried about them getting too up on their opponents and running the football. The worst it gets is when they beat the Titans so incredibly bad that we got none of the fourth quarter, I think it was roughly, and he still got to 32 points in that game. He's running the ball at an elite level for a quarterback, passing the ball at an elite level, and it's super easy to stack him this week because we have no Jamison Crowder. I don't think Jake Kumro is playing. Isaiah McKenzie, they have not ruled him out as of like an hour ago, I checked, but he's not progressing well through concussion protocol. I would kind of bet against him playing. That leaves us with a lot of cheap receiver options. Dawson Knox is out too. Man, team is really down on their pass catchers, but they've got Diggs and they've got Josh Allen. Things are going to work out for them. I'm just not that concerned. So easy to stack him. To me, if it's easy to stack Josh Allen, it's kind of a slam dunk, even if he's chalk. So that's kind of the lay of the land.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Now, what are you thinking in terms of like bring back options if you're doing that Buffalo Steelers game? Because I mean, Pickens obviously had the real connection last week, but I assume will he be popular? I assume he'll probably get dragged along as a bring back, right?
He might get dragged along as a bring back, but I do think the field still isn't bringing back at like an extremely high clip. It also would depend what stakes you're playing at. I think he would be much more popular in like the $100 single entry spy versus the milli maker, the $3 play action or whatever. I would think people are like, especially if you're getting people using optimizers, maybe for their spy entries. I would think that that's a rule that more people are creating than the average person building a lineup Sunday morning and having a beer. So I would like him as a bring back. We actually saw even like Mitch was actually throwing pretty deep. He was like top 5 in ADOT. And then Kenny Pickett comes in and just dunks on that with like nearly a 14 ADOT. Obviously, it's a tiny sample. It's half the game. But he looked comfortable throwing the ball down the field. He didn't do it super well, but that's okay. We just want the opportunities.
What about Freiermuth as a bring back in that game?
He was the one I thought of as like a pretty obvious spot. He actually, even though he would be the traditional shallow ADOT kind of guy for this team, him and Deontay, he boat raced Deontay in terms of targets. I believe he led the team with 9 targets last week, caught 7 of them. They were in a pretty contentious battle with the Jets. Unfortunate for them, with the Jets. So it makes sense that they got a lot of just kind of 2-minute drill type of stuff. Contentious will not be close, but they will be on the losing part of contentious in this game without a doubt. So lots of opportunity. Yeah. I think it's a little grimy, but you can go back to Deontay. I think
it's not like
too. It's not like he's a running back. It's not like, dude, I'm not excited about Deontay, but like he has shown throughout his career an incredible ability to draw targets. And
I agree. Like, one game he has a 15 target share, and it's like, well, it was a good run for Deontay Johnson, but now Kenny Pickett's in there. It's over.
And it's not like he was Najee with a negative 0.05 ADOT, only getting his run because Ben Roethlisberger couldn't throw 5 yards downfield. He's a legit wide receiver. He's not just a guy catching screens, right? So although I think maybe life was a little better for him when Ben was there because it was just so easy, that connection, I don't think he's dead because they have a higher ADOT now. I think it probably still gives maybe even a higher ceiling on a per target basis. It just means that he's not going to have a 28% target share. He could still get there in one game though. So I don't hate buying that bounce back because the spots in this game are a bit obvious. Like the Bills they're down to just a handful of receivers, and like the Steelers, I'm not running it back with Najee. I'm not playing Chase Claypool. No. So it's like two guys on the Steelers. I think throwing Deontay as a third option that is viable. That
makes sense.
Yeah, I get that it's not the best, not the best situation for him, but I think people are overselling it, and I think it's a unique way to bring back for Allen.
One thing that I prefer to do in these game stacks with DFS is I like to get tight end taken care of. And, maybe I want to do that too much. Maybe it gets to the point where it's a league. I don't know, but it's definitely a preference. And I think, there's something to having your tight end correlated. So that's why Freiermuth jumped out. And I want to ask you before we move to running back about one last game here, which is the Eagles and the Cardinals. I really like this game. I think this game could be very fun if we just get the Cardinals to step up a little bit. They need to push the Eagles, but the Eagles, when you look at the matchup, they got to be out of their minds if they don't attack through the air here. I mean, they just have such an advantage. So I think Jalen Hurts is, a really strong play. Obviously, A.J. Brown's going to be a really strong play. Dallas Goedert, 4,700. I don't love it, but, like I said, I do like to have the tight end correlated. I guess Zach Ertz is another option as a bring back, but he's 4,800. I feel like, spending more for the guy that got traded to clear room for Goddard is like, I don't know, it just seems bad. Like Goddard beat this dude out. Now I can pay $100 less for him. On the offense I'm more excited about, but I don't know, any interest in this game overall, and how are you trying to build around it?
Yeah, I think this will be one of the more popular games to stack, but it'll be such a condensed, like everyone's playing it, I would imagine, in one of like 2 or 3 ways. It's Hurts, AJ Brown, and probably Marquise Brown for the average player. If you think you're getting real fancy,
I think you almost need to have Marquise Brown. Like,
yeah, I think
especially in like
Zach
small
Ertz.
field stuff. Like,
we saw consecutive games with Zach Ertz getting over 10 targets. He fits the exact type of donkey scheme Cliff wants to run. They should be forced to pass so much in this game. It's mostly on DraftKings, to be fair, just because there's the volume, the catches is what I think Ertz is useful for, not any other sort of talents of his own making. And to me, Goddard, it's tough sledding for Goddard. He has a 3 ADOT. They are just using him as the safety valve while
he's getting screens and stuff. He's getting some screens. It is some yak as well. It's not.
Yeah, he leads all tight ends in yak. He is legit good. I just think his usage, the way he's also not being used as a touchdown scorer.
He's the Debo of tight ends, Kyle.
That's a good way to put it. He does. Like, this is not to discredit his talent. He leads all tight ends in yards after the catch per catch. I don't think anyone's close. He's got it's over 10 or something. He is legit showing that he can win in a bunch of ways. Just the way he's winning right now isn't my favorite thing to bet on for fantasy. He also doesn't have a target in the end zone. He's averaging fewer than 1 red zone target per game. So it's difficult.
That's all fair. His yards per target's ridiculous. It's going to regress.
Yeah, I get it though. It's impressive what he's doing. It's just not impressive from a fantasy perspective. He's still being a very useful, productive piece of the offense, despite being used in a way that almost shouldn't be true. But like you said, I kind of expect the yards. Something has to give. To me, I don't know that his usage is going to change, but I do know over the long run, you can't average double-digit yak. So I would go with Ertz as the run back option as a tight end. But Marquise Brown feels like such an obvious spot.
I think it almost has to be Marquise because this is a slate where I think you're going to need Hurts to crush because Josh Allen's probably going to crush. I mean, we talked about him. He's such a front runner. Yeah, he does so well when they're ahead and they'll be ahead. So, and you also have other options like Brady. And so I think, I don't know. I mean, if you're playing Hurts and Hurts is quite expensive, you really need that high end outcome from him. And if you need that, then I think you need the Cardinals to be semi-functional. And to me, the only way they're semi-functional is if Marquise Brown has a good game because Ertz stinks. Ertz is just he's just underneath volume, he's just
cashing a paycheck.
Time.
He's in there catching his targets, and that's about it.
Yeah, someone who can help drive the offense forward. And I think Marquise Brown, that's where the game gets nutty. Marquise Brown hitting long plays, helping speed the game up. To me, I think there's one bring back for me. And I play small field stuff. So, I think the biggest contest I'll be in has 600 people in it this week. But, so I think about it maybe a little differently. In large field, maybe there's other options. But, all right, we only have about 5 minutes here. So let's quickly fire through running back. Leonard Fournette is going to be very chalky this week. I wrote in the walkthrough, I am very comfortable fading that chalk. He was down into, I believe, 61% snap rate last week. I think he'll be above that, but he's not locked in to the 90% role, I think. And, he's also not very good. So he just needs a ton of, seriously, look at any metric you want, he's just not going to provide. Now, he does do some things decently well. I think he's kind of like a role player, on a basketball team or something. He gets you rebounds, he plays defense. He's going to kind of do what he does pretty well. But if you need big plays, if you need some explosion, he's really not your guy. And if he's not getting every snap, then we do need some of that. Or we need him to get into the end zone, which he obviously can. He's got a goal line roll. He could just catch a bunch of checkdowns. So there's paths here. I guess I should back up and say, if he wasn't chalky, I think he would be an extremely good play. So it's more that I think the field is going to be on him in a way that makes me wonder, are there paths to him failing? And I do think there's paths to him failing. So anyway, where are you at on him and the other chalk this week, which looks like Jeff Wilson will be really chalky. Khalil Herbert will be somewhat chalky. Maybe Kamara, Ramondre, Brees.
Yeah, I don't think Fournette's a terrible play. I think actually the idea that they're passing more has to be good for him because
it's very good for him.
It enables him to do the only things he does well, especially from a fantasy perspective, which is catch passes. And when they're passing more, they are getting in the red zone more. This team just scores infinitely more points when they pass. And that includes getting the red zone 1 yard line, and Fournette punches it in. Fournette does feel like a 10-10-10 triple-double, right? Just gets in there, gets the bare minimum on a lot of stats for good fantasy numbers. I wouldn't full fade him because I think the offense is just so tantalizing now that they're passing more. They're fun bucks again, thank God. One other player you didn't mention that I think will be pretty popular is Dameon Pierce. To me, I know I've said this so many times, so I feel like I can't go back on it now. I like Dameon Pierce this week. But I do think anytime a player who is on the road. I assume they're underdogs in this game. A road dog. He's not playing a 3-down role. We did see the role increase, though. He actually led the team's running backs at least in routes run, got 6 targets, didn't really do much with them, caught all 6 for 8 yards. But anytime a guy is a road dog running back with a low implied team total, those are the players that feel like good fades to me. Even though his role is really good from like a season-long perspective, you are through the moon that he looks like an elite runner. That's not awfully surprising. He was a good runner in college, but he's catching passes too, running more routes than Rex Burkhead, getting targets. That's really optimistic, but I do think the road dog, low implied team total running backs, those are just generally the easy fades for me. His touchdown probability is pretty low, like 100-yard bonus if his team isn't sustaining drives, doesn't look great for him. So like, I get it. From a season-long perspective, I'm very happy about it. He feels like, I think he'll be pretty popular because of the role he's seeing. I feel like that's one I want to get off of.
All right, 2 minutes, 2 guys. These are probably 2 of my favorite plays of the week. Breece Hall, who will be somewhat popular, but 5,400. I think he's really talented. He's a running back 3 in PFF's expected points per game right now, and his snap share is increasing. So it seems pretty good. Now, it's the Jets, Zach Wilson. This could fail, but he's not. It doesn't seem like he's going to be mega chalk. So he's pretty interesting to me. And then the other guy, who I guess no one's on right now, is Nick Chubb. We've talked about this on the preview pod. This is kind of a fun game environment. I think Chubb. I used Chubb as the cover boy for the walkthrough this week. I think Chubb is set up for a really nice game. I think he's got a high floor. I think it's Nick Chubb. He's got a high ceiling. I guess it's just like a little pricey for people, but anyway, I used up about 30 seconds every 2 minutes. So quickly, Breece Hall, Nick Chubb.
I like both of those. I had in 32 stats, Breece Hall written up. He's just pushing for so much of the backfield. It seems very clear that when you spend second round capital on a player who is like an elite prospect, incredibly athletic, runs, I think he ran a 4.39 as like true 3-down size. He's a good pass catcher. Now he's doing all of that. 17 carries, 6 targets last week. I like that. He'll be a little popular, but I do think there will be other players in this price range that end up being more popular than he is. I like Nick Chubb call anytime. I mean, they're facing an LA defense that they made some half-hearted efforts to improve their like bottom barrel, like 31, 32 ranked run EPA defense. It got him up to like 25th or something of that nature. They're still a very bad run defense. And the Browns are close in this game. It's less than a field goal spread. So I like that one. One other one I'll throw your way is Devin Singletary. Obviously, like, frankly,
I like that one.
The lead running back on this team is kind of Josh Allen. He leads the team in red zone carries. But in the past 2 weeks, Devin Singletary has mopped the floor with the other running backs on this team. He's seen like 70+% of the team's carries, running back carries, that is. And he has like 15 targets over the past 2 weeks. So I don't even hate using him in the Josh Allen stacks, especially with.
I was about to say, yeah, you need another stacking partner there, right? And because I mean, what are you doing? I guess Shakir. I bet Shakir's probably someone you could triple stack.
Yeah, absolutely. They're so cheap. Like, Singletary isn't that expensive, and he can get 6 catches, 60 and a touchdown through the air, plus his rushing production.
Yeah,
I don't know what Shakir's price is. I'd be shocked if it's over like 3,800.
I think it's 3,200.
30, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he'll probably be popular, but the triple stack, including the running back, might not be popular, and including a run back will be a little less popular even so. So I actually like using Singletary even in the Allen stacks.
All right, let's get to some start sit questions here. We're going to fire through these. Dubs or Gabe Davis, full PPR?
I think I'm going Dubs.
Kyle. Don't you dare. Gabe Davis is going to be out there. We just bet on the ankle.
He's been out there. He's always been out there.
I know. We bet on the ankle getting better. Didn't suffer a setback this week in practice. That's nice. You just told me how excited you are for this game. You can't even start a starting wide receiver in it.
In DFS, I like Gabe because I do think the DFS public will sort of think about it in the way that I am thinking about it in a season-long perspective. But he is out there total wind sprinting. It is unreal.
I know, but he's recovering from an ankle injury. He'll be all right. Have some faith. Have some faith. I get it if you want to start Dobbs, but I think that game environment's going to suck. So, yeah. All right. Hunter Renfrow or Cris Olave?
Cris Olave.
Higbee or Renfrow?
Yeah, Higbee. Higbee's like a number 2 receiver for a good fantasy passing attack.
I think it's Higbee too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Higbee leads all tight ends in targets right
now. That's unbelievable. Marquise Brown or Christian Kirk in the flex?
Marquise.
Yeah, I think it's Marquise, but Kirk is a really good play this week. And I like him as a DFS play as well. So I think that's actually pretty tough. I'll go with you though. DJ Moore, Ayuk, Gallup, or Njoku need 2 PPR. And this is tight end preview.
More.
And Njoku.
Yeah, more in Njoku. Yeah.
Yeah. Akers, Algier, or Rashad White.
Down bad.
Ready to have the urine stomped out of me. Oh man, keeping it clean. Thanks for that, Brendan. I think it's Algier, man.
Me too. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, Algier's like he's a passing down back there, and I don't think he's not just a passing down back. So, they'll be throwing Gabe Davis or Curtis Samuel or Tyler Lockett.
I'll go Curtis Samuel.
What? Curtis Samuel? No
Jahan Dotson. I'm pretty sure he still leads the team in targets.
Oh, God. All right. I mean, sure. Like, if you're like a big favorite and you're just like, I just want my 12 Curtis Samuel points and half-point PPR, by the way. You're not even getting the full
rushing
point.
Touchdown.
Oh, my God. Play Gabe Davis. Play Gabe Davis, guys. We love the game environment. Live a little.
I'm fine with living a little. I'm going to slander Gabe on every start-sit question we get, and I'm going to play him a bunch in DFS because I don't think a lot of people are going back.
Ceiling matters in season long, too. Like,
that's fair.
Gabe can definitely do nothing, but like the 8 points you lose from like Gabe puts up 4, Curtis puts up 12. Like, is that going to make a difference? What if this is the week Gabe is healthy? What if?
All right. I'm on Gabe. All future Gabe questions are Gabe now.
Trade question. Offer Josh Allen and Dameon Pierce for Eckler. Have Connor and Williams. Now, you've already offered this, so this feels like, what are you going to pull it back if we don't like it?
No, I assume. You
have been offered.
Offered, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little tilted on these trade questions. So Josh Allen and Dameon Pierce for Eckler. Which side do you want?
I think I want the Allen Pierce side.
I don't know. I guess I'd probably go Eckler, man.
Glad we can help.
Yeah, I don't know, man. These trade questions. Pitt's out and tight end waivers thin. What do now?
Cry a lot.
Cry. I also agree. Cry. Breece Hall. What do now? Deontay Johnson or Kareem Hunt?
Breece Hall. Yeah, Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. Let's get some Hall points this week. Can you trust Dalton Schultz this week? You cannot.
No. You can play him if you'd like. Tight end is bad, but like can trust? No, not trust.
Yeah. Dalton Schultz is, I think, like a reflection of the Cowboys offense, and the Cowboys offense isn't going to be scoring many points, so don't love him. That's me calling Dalton Schultz a jag. Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins rest of season?
Probably still Kirk Cousins.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Tight end more likely to play. Higbee's out there. I mean, you should probably pick up Higbee.
Yeah, assuming you have Gerald Everett on your roster, you should be rostering Higbee over him, regardless of who you would choose to sit today or start today.
I think those guys are comparable, just because Everett's been so much more efficient. But I probably agree.
Yeah. I assume which is more likely to play. You're not starting Higbee over Waller, are you? It's not that far
you're
off,
playing Waller.
Yeah.
You're playing Waller. Drop McLaurin, Edmonds, or Rashad White to pick up a streamer to cover Pitts, or ride it out. Wow, we're taking zeros. We're taking zeros at tight end because you know what? It's kind of like starting Kyle Pitts.
Dude,
wow.
How are we so wrong about Kyle Pitts?
I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. I think I'm dropping Edmonds and picking up a tight end.
Yeah, Edmonds has been outsnapped and outcarried in 3 consecutive weeks by Raheem Mostert. Mostert, I think, also at least in 2 or 3, if not all 3 of those games, ran more routes than Edmonds. Like, Edmonds is a legit backup. He was very fortunate score last week.
Yeah.
He is
I'm not talking about Isaiah Likely or pretty low end streaming options here, but I don't know. I hate the idea of taking a zero.
Yeah, I think taking a zero is probably bad. Isaiah Likely, I think is a little interesting if Bateman doesn't play. A little interesting.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I would drop Edmonds and grab a tight end. Olave or Ramondre?
Olave.
I also agree it's Olave. I was hoping you'd
Okay.
say Ramondre, and we could kind of do the like, what's happened to us? I thought you were the Olave guy and I was the Ramondre guy. Person in the league has Kittle as their backup. What kind of player? No, not doing that.
Offer a cheap one and hope he accidentally clicks it.
Yeah, a cheap one.
What are the
You're welcome.
Players?
A cheap player. Gabe Davis or Alan Lazard?
Gabe Davis. I'm not that much of a loser. Gabe Davis.
I'm jamming Gabe Davis in DFS this week.
We use this strategy to predict low-owned DeAndre Swift.
That's
recently, I think, right?
Yes.
So 2 weeks ago or whatever. Obviously, he didn't play.
I honestly think this is one of the few edges left in DFS is finding out who people don't want to start. I mean, Gabe Davis, I wasn't even thinking about playing with DFS. Now I'm going to jam him. All right, Romeo Doubs or Terry McLaurin?
Terry, I think.
Doubs, come on.
Doubs?
This was a layup. You love Doubs.
I do love Doubs, but like Terry's good too. They're both good players. Doubs, I'm fine with Doubs.
Destroying that offense.
Dude.
They're going to be low volume this week, and there's no efficiency.
That's fine. Okay, Doubs.
Would you trade to the AJ Brown or for Cup? Would you trade to the AJ Brown for Cup? Yes.
You're breaking up, and I can never tell if it's because of my internet connection or your internet connection. But would I trade Hurts, the AJ Brown owner, for Cooper Kupp? I mean, if that's on the table, obviously Cooper Kupp is the best fantasy player right now. Like, he's even been insulated from this offense being terrible, which is, I mean, I was gonna say they're not terrible, they're not good. So yeah, obviously, I assume that offer's on the table. Take it, yeah, obviously.
All right, I don't know if you can hear me. 2 of 3 running backs: Pierce, Hall, Wilson. All right.
Pierce, Hall, Wilson. Pierce, Hall, Wilson. I'll go Pierce and Hall.
Yes, I think that makes sense. All right, Aaron Jones and Doubs. Do I start both?
Depends who your other options are, but Packers offense is good.
We need to know who you're starting them over.
He's also taking a 0. He's like
this is a philosophical. Like,
I know. I'm giving a hard time, but
I actually do think there's something to the idea of not wanting to play 2 Packers in this. Like, I definitely think Doubs is the guy. If you have other options, you might want to consider. All right, pick one. Half-point PPR: Najee, Wilson Jr., Herbert, or Montgomery.
I will take
Herbert / Montgomery, whichever.
I will take Wilson and Herbert if Montgomery sits. I will take Najee over what I assume will actually be maybe a committee if Montgomery's active.
I agree with that, but my God, Najee, get it together.
Yeah.
Lockett or Samuel in my flex this week?
Samuel.
I think I'm Lockett, but you can tell how I feel about Washington. Doubs or Gabe Davis? We kind of covered this. I think I'm Davis, and are you still Doubs?
I've changed my mind. I hope the person who previously asked this question didn't leave chat once they got it answered, because I've changed my mind. Gabe Davis.
All right.
I'm living a little. I'm having my coffee. It's hitting the veins. I'm living a little.
Full PPR: Garrett Wilson or Deontay Johnson?
I still go Deontay. Last week
I think it's Deontay, and I love
concerning the lack of production as soon as Zach Wilson steps in the lineup. It's just he likes that Corey Davis guy, unfortunately.
Yeah, although 88% route rate for Garrett Wilson, which is like we kind of got like the Traylon Burks thing where it's like now it's time. It never quite happened with Traylon Burks and he got hurt, but like when you see the guy getting targeted at an extremely high rate on his routes, and then he jumps up to a full-time role. And Wilson was actually targeted at a decent rate last week on that full-time role. This is the mega bullish. He has arrived as the number one option type of setup. So
I'm still long-term, even in the context of the season, bullish on Garrett Wilson. But like we just have such a large sample on Deontay being a guy who hogs targets that I'm kind of willing to bet on it, over last week's 1 week sample.
I'm with you. I'm just excited about Wilson, so I wanted to mention it.
Sure.
2 flex spots: Doubs, Wilson, Brandon Cooks, Ezekiel Elliott, Damian Harris. got kind of gross there at the end, Kyle.
I know. I noticed that. Dubs, and Cooks.
Yeah. I think I'm Wilson over Dubs, actually, but definitely Cooks. Goff or Kyler? Kyler has me nervous. I think I get it, but I actually think this is a bad spot for the Lions. So I'd be going Kyler.
Agreed. Kyler.
Najee, Jamal Williams, or James Robinson. Pick 2 of 3 PPR. Please say James Robinson.
2 of 3. I mean, definitely Jamal. His role last week actually wasn't like that good. He split the targets with his backups, ran a route on I think exactly half of the Jared Goff dropbacks. But that line is great. They're running the ball really well. You're still going Jamal. I think it's Najee.
It's Najee.
But like, if last week hadn't happened where we finally saw James Robinson's role cut down, I think it was just because the game script, but it has me a little concerned. If last week hadn't have happened, I would, if this was week 3 heading into week 4, I would have picked James Robinson, and it is very close still, but it's not.
All right, Deontay Johnson, Devontae Smith, Michael Thomas, Corey Davis, Bateman, or Gerald Everett. Start 3.
3.
This is now bordering on us setting your whole lineup. Starting 2 is okay.
That's a warning.
Starting 1.
Big hurt Atlanta.
Preferred.
That's one warning for you. You won't get another. Deontay, Devonta Smith, and Bateman if he plays. Because I think that game should be so fun.
Yeah, and Michael Thomas might be out too, right?
I was like, I haven't I will start grinding the news in about 30 minutes. But I'm not confident he plays. So
okay. Yeah, this is sort of a health, but definitely Deontay Johnson and Smith, and then health related.
The other ones, health will have to dictate.
I would get Corey Davis over Everett, I guess, if both go.
Yeah, it matters. Yeah.
Hall or Stevenson?
I think it's Hall.
I think it's Hall too.
I don't hate Ramondre though.
I don't either. Yeah,
Ramondre's running really well.
Frankly, that much?
Yeah, like. I don't know. The only reason that they might be passing, I guess we have to also wait and see for Mac Jones. Like, Bill Belichick wouldn't rule him out last week, despite him having the 0 practice reps.
I'm ruling Mac Jones out.
But I'm kind of doing the same thing. He got some decent practice reps in. Like, he played. He got in a decent practice. But, yeah, I mean, the last report we have on him on a site called NBCSports.com is week 6 looks like more of a possibility for him. So, yeah, I think that offense is going to be out downright dreadful. Won't be able to move the football on their 3rd-string quarterback already. So to me,
actually, they will be able to move the football. They're just going to do it very slowly.
Huh? Gross.
Yeah.
Hall.
I have to pick 2 of Akers, Elliott, Garrett Wilson, and Drake London. I mean, what is Drake London even doing in here? Put him in your lineup and don't 100%. Think twice.
Yep.
Now I'll pick one more, and it's Garrett Wilson, and we're moving on.
Okay. I can't be like, no, you need to get Zeke or Cam Akers in your lineup. Go for it.
Zeke is like he's in a committee and he's so inefficient. What are we doing? All right, Renfro, Bateman, or Zay Jones?
Renfro's in a really good game. I hate playing Hunter Renfro. Personally, I'd rather do
it's Bateman if he's healthy.
Yeah, let's go with that. Bateman if he's healthy. Yeah.
And then
Renfro over Zonage.
Yeah. All right, start 2 of the 3. Hunt, Ramondre, Pierce.
Pierce for sure.
And then Ramondre for me.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess it's not crazy to start Hunt.
I mean, Hunt is
up for Chubb pretty well.
That's the only way Chubb doesn't get there if Hunt just plunders the touchdowns, which he did. I think it was week 1, right, where he scored 2 touchdowns. So I think there's a legit reason to start Hunt. But at the end of the day, I will go Ramondre.
Marquise Brown or Duvernay? I don't think we overthink this here. Right. Yeah, Marquise Brown. I think in terms of matchup, to me, game environment's way more important than matchup. And the Cardinals are going to have to pass. They're going to have to pass. And Njoku's history against the Chargers is wild. Okay.
I didn't know that. I'm going to look that up.
Before I pulled up a non-start sit question, but interesting comment allowed. Someone's asking a question about, did I get the better of a trade? We do not answer those here. Romeo Doubs or Garrett Wilson?
You said Wilson, right?
Said Wilson, but that's a very common start sit because I don't think Steven double asked here. So I won't yell at Steven.
Interesting.
We did already answer that. I believe Zach did double ask. Zach, how dare you? Pickens or Najee in the flex? Oh, this is a fun one. Pickens or Najee?
I think
Najee.
it's still
Najee, this is like, we should be jamming Najee now because the Najee questions are so gross, but we actually agree
let's
with
not
the
get
grossness.
too gal brain with this. At least like Gabe plays with Josh Allen. Like,
Yeah,
I think it's still Najee. I don't know,
it's
man.
still
Maybe
Najee.
maybe there is the like true. I don't think it exists anymore, but it is interesting the idea that like, what if that 19 target game is probably not 19 anymore, but what if the 10 target game still exists because like Gabe Davis, third play of the game, 80-yard touchdown. The next drive, they also score and it's 21-0 at halftime. The game is super fast paced and they're targeting. But the thing is, it's hard to buy them targeting Najee. He didn't get a target last week and he split the routes with Jaylen Warren. So even my like, they could be playing catch up and he could be the third down back getting all the targets. Like, that even feels thin. I still think I take Najee here because he's a good bet for 2 to 3 catches plus 14 carries. But like, it grows weaker and weaker every week.
All right, so let's fire this off. 2 more real quick. Connor or Breece Hall?
I think it's Breece Hall.
Wow. I feel like this is DFS brain. I think it's Connor in season long, right? You really think it's Hall?
I don't know, man. I think Connor's just done.
I guess I'm not going to not say Breece Hall. So you put me in a position where I have to say Breece Hall, and I will say Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall's good. He's getting a ton of opportunity. It's not going to be a disaster. Let's hope. DK or McLaurin? DK.
Yeah, DK.
All right, let's talk the rest of this DFS slate here. Wide receiver, we talked about some guys that are interesting because we talked about some good game environments. Obviously, now I'm going to have 100% exposure to Gabe Davis, so that kind of makes things easy for me. But no, what's jumping out to you here?
Yeah, to me, it looks like the Bucs will all the 2 big ones, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Chris Godwin last week, obviously we saw the Mike Evans scores, but they tied each other in targets, both like a 19% target share. Godwin was out for like 70 or 80% of the routes. It looks like he's fully back, and he avoids the tough AJ Terrell matchup because he's played entirely in the slot, and that's just such a good spot for him to rack up PPR stuff. So
he's in such a good spot, man.
It's a great. I mean, but I think
they have no pass rush. Like Brady's just going to sit back. He's going to sit back. Now, I guess you could say that means he's going to go deep to Evans, but
they're all in good spots. Like they should boat race the Falcons, and they should boat race them through the air finally. So Godwin in a great spot. He's just underpriced too. We saw last year, Chris Godwin through, I think he made it 14 weeks before he suffered the injury, how many ever weeks it was. He was the wide receiver 5 in PPR, and he had an elite red zone role, but ironically wasn't actually scoring a ton of touchdowns. There was room for him to be like the wide receiver 2 up until he got hurt last year. And now like on DraftKings, he's 5,900. Like, at his peak, he could be like an 8K plus player. So to get him at 59 is such a slam dunk. I do think, admittedly, the field will probably recognize this.
Now I'm seeing that Rondale Moore might be chalk. This feels like maybe the worst chalk of all time. And I like Rondale Moore as a player, but he's playing on the outside at 5'7", and you'll be shocked to hear this, but it's not going great.
Yeah, I see him as not chalky, but very on the radar. Like, I don't think he'll be that popular, but I think he'll be over 5 or 6%, which isn't a ton, but it puts him in the top 15 or so, maybe 20 receivers. I wouldn't play him. He'd have to be really low owned for me to play him. Like, he's got to show me something first at this point. And like you said, playing a role that really he shouldn't be playing for his skill set. Just not playing.
I did Cliff Kingsbury, man. He comes up with new ways to just make me scratch my head every week. What do you think of my Christian Kirk excitement? Because like this, so one thing I kind of like to do is come up with like a mini correlation between 2 wide receivers, and I generally prefer it if they're like in that like mid 5K to low 6K range on DraftKings. Christian Kirk, Brandon Cooks, it's popping, it's right there. Any interest in that?
I can get on board with that. I mean, we've seen back-to-back games with 9 targets, open the year with 12 targets. 60 yards has been his floor this year, which is kind of nuts. He got 60 yards on 2 catches last week. That's wild. It looks like he'll be popular, though, looking at some ownership projections around the industry. He's looking like top 5, top 6. I don't know if he quite gets there. He could, though. To me, the only concern is that it's a game with at least one very bad quarterback. And Trevor Lawrence got beat up last week. I think he's still pretty good, above average, but I don't know if this is a game that goes nuclear. And I do think it's a game that will draw some ownership, especially from Brandon Cooks and Christian Kirk may not be the most exciting, but they are like the classical, almost like cash game, like 6K guys who could be like 65, 700, just slightly underpriced every week because they dominate their team's targets. So it's fine.
Yeah, I wish Cooks had a bigger ceiling. That's. It feels like maybe it's just a little bit too popular for what you're getting ceiling wise.
You go a little Kirk Gill, a little Kirk Pierce. We lose him. I gave him Kirk Pearson. Just like, no, I'm gonna head out. I do think we lost him. Well, I'll just keep going at receiver. I think at the top end, I do think the interesting thing is at the top end, there is just such an obvious smash spot for Stephon Diggs and Cooper Kupp. Always a smash spot player. There's no spot he can't defeat. So there is a chance that we get someone like AJ Brown at actual reasonable ownership. The same could be said of Justin Jefferson in a very ugly game. I think if you're paying up, there are some really sort of, I don't even want to say like unique. They're the studs. It's the studs you should expect. But Justin Jefferson, if he comes in below like 7 or 8, 9% ownership, even, it's Justin Jefferson. He has a top 2 ceiling on any slate at any time. 3 games this year of at least 10 targets, 2 games over 140 yards. So to me, actually, man, I'm really talking myself into Justin Jefferson because I don't think he'll be popular. Kirk has no reason to be popular. The other side has nothing but Khalil Herbert to offer. It's just not a game anyone wants to attack. But like, I think that's kind of the smash spot. Anytime you get a stud at any position who isn't going to be popular, like you just jam those and you fade like matchup concerns.
Yeah, and I don't think there are matchup concerns with Jefferson. It's just that the game environment isn't going to be awesome. But he could absolutely crush. Let me ask you about Waddle and Hill, because both guys jumped out to me as really strong plays this week. Just like, I mean, we know that they've had an awesome season, but just seeing how concentrated the volume was, I believe they've combined for 77% of air yards. Actually, I might be Lockett and Metcalf, but it's some ridiculously high, just below that, I think like 70+% of the air yards. And they're both off the charts, not just in terms of the yards per route run, but in terms of their expected opportunity per route. Basically, their expected yards per route run is extremely high. They're overperforming it, but like they have seen truly elite volume for every route that they're out there. With Teddy Bridgewater, it's not going to be as fun, but maybe it's also less popular. And I was, kind of surprised to see just how accurate Teddy Bridgewater has been in completion percentage over expected. Now, he's a very limited quarterback. I'm not like getting overly excited about Teddy Bridgewater. I haven't lost my mind, but we need him to deliver accurately for yards after the catch from 2 incredibly explosive receivers. Like, it's a low bar.
Yeah, it's manageable. Even though we're not excited about Teddy, he's decent on like short to intermediate throws. And these are 2 guys that the way they're being used is perfect for that. Like, they both also have great deep ball speed, but like they're perfectly fine roasting any defense on a 7-yard slant. So I think, coming off of a really hasn't had a big blow up spot since I believe week 1, coming off of a string of, just like back-to-back pretty quiet weeks. I don't think we'll see a lot of ownership for Jalen Waddle. I do think we might for Tyreek Hill, but like if another spot where if you just tell me one of the most explosive receivers in the league on an offense, it is admittedly missing its quarterback, but on offense that is designed to absolutely boat race their opponents. They're throwing the ball well, and they're doing it often.
But they're against a very weak secondary, Kyle. Oh, wait, that's good. No, that's good.
It took me a sec. I was like, Pat, I don't know if you meant to, but that's good. That's in fact very
It's crazy, right? Like the matchup's awesome, and I get it. I get it that it's Bridgewater, but like the matchup's awesome. So
could you play Bridgewater? Can you play Bridgewater? That's
what I was going to ask you, because part of me wants to go like Hill, Waddle, Brees, but then it's like, what do I do after that? Because if there was like a Trey Lance type on the board who I could just kind of play alone, with rushing upside. I mean, I guess Mariota maybe, but then you probably want to stack him with London. But maybe you single stack Mariota with London and But you see what I'm saying? Like, how do I get there? I don't want to play Bridgewater.
I think if you're playing Hill and Waddle, you
should bring Bridgewater along.
almost 15, is just behind 15K in salary. At that point, those two players are combining for like, they're both getting the 100-yard bonus in a tournament winning lineup. It would be my assumption. They're probably also both scoring a touchdown. Maybe you don't need them to both score in like a 600-man field. But to me, if you're committing 15K in salary to two receivers on the same team, I can't almost fathom a universe in which their quarterback doesn't get there, especially because their quarterback is cheap. Like maybe if their quarterback,
good point,
for whatever reason was very expensive, you could say, oh, with the way the offense is concentrated, you only need 230 yards between the two, and you might not get more than 40 from the rest of the offense, but that's still 270 and probably multiple scores for a quarterback who he's 50 something hundred. He's like 5,400. So if you're playing both of them, I just can't imagine a world in which they both are winning you tournaments, but their quarterback is not.
All right, I think I might play that. I might do a Teddy double.
I'm fine with it.
All right, sweet. I mean, it's fun. It's fun, and I feel like, I guess it won't get you like completely, because it'll be similar to the Brady constructions. There'll be like a decent amount of Brady, Evans, Godwin, with the London bring back. Yeah. So salary wise, you're not that different, but you're taking care of one of the running back spots, whereas they're not. Maybe could you double bring back with Big Daddy Conklin? Get that tight end.
Yeah, but he is racking up the targets. My only concern is like, philosophically, I do not believe Tyler Conklin on this team, on average, will rank better than like third in targets, with Garrett Wilson looking really good. Elijah Moore, I still have a little bit of faith in. Corey Davis is a perfectly fine second or third option as well. And the team has been targeting the running backs at a really high clip. Like, Conklin's been playing well. He's been getting targets. It just feels unsustainable. That's all I can say, is the fact that he plays alongside Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and really good pass catching running backs. That doesn't feel like it should leave room for Conklin.
Sure. But then what else am I supposed to do at tight end, Kyle? And we have about 2 minutes until we're doing start sets. But that's all we need to cover the tight end position in 2022, because it's gross. I honestly think like you tacking on, like I did a dummy lineup. Guess who I put in? OJ Howard. I plugged in OJ Howard. I was like, I guess I need to check if Pharaoh Brown and Jordan Akins are going, but I think he ran around on like 67% of dropbacks. I was like, good enough.
He did. He ran the majority of the tight end routes, and I think they had at least Pharaoh Brown active last week. They might have had both. So like it wasn't like they had everyone.
Yeah,
lost.
Brevin. We need Brevin out, I guess.
Yeah, Brevin looks. I don't think he practiced early, and it looks like he'll be out. So yeah, it was like Pharaoh Brown or someone they had active, and they actually did use OJ Howard as their clear lead pass catching tight end. I mean, there are worse options. You know, I have long since cut OJ Howard from my dynasty teams, but there's a universe in which he was actually a talented player. Doesn't seem like we live in it. I think there's some pretty obvious ones. Apparently David Njoku has a great history against the Chargers. He's also more so just in a game environment that looks pretty solid. He's cheap.
Yeah, I like that one.
We have no studs on the slate. We have no Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce. Kyle Pitts wasn't a stud.
Well, we have Tyler Higbee, so
that's true. We do have tight end target leader Tyler Higbee, who I also think will be the most popular tight end of the slate.
Yeah. You can't play Chalky Higbee, right?
Yeah, I think people who I won't refer to derogatorily got there, unfortunately, with TJ Hawkinson last week. But to me, unless like it's Mark Andrews in a smash spot or Travis Kelce in a smash spot, I don't play the chalk tight ends. So yeah.
Kyle wanted to call people donkeys and for
slappies, donkeys, something of that nature.
Okay. All right, David Njoku. That's a tight end play we can feel good about. Let's go back to the start state questions here. Let's see. Half point PPR league trade offer: Ramondre, Curtis Samuel for DeAndre Hopkins and Dotson.
I think I am sticking with the Ramondre side. I don't know. You could talk me into DeAndre Hopkins being a meaningful impact for this team. Obviously, he could make them look a lot better, but he wasn't great last year. His numbers were career lows, and the offense looks completely in shambles. So my optimism for him, if you told me in the middle of if you told me in week 2 last year, he's going to get suspended next year and then he'll come back, and I'd be like, oh, let's go. He'll be such a buy the week before he comes back. But then he didn't play particularly well all of last year. And now he comes back to an offense that looks a lot worse than they did last year. I think Ramondre is like legit the best player in this trade, so I'll just keep the Ramondre side.
Yeah, I guess for me it would come down to positional need, but I don't have any issue if you want to go Ramondre there. Pitts is out. Do I roll Noah Gray? I feel like you got to be finding someone better than Noah Gray, right?
Jawan Johnson could be out there still leading the team's
that's
tight ends and routes. It's not ideal. I don't think he got a catch like last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. He didn't get a catch, but he's running a lot of routes. That's more than Noah Gray is going to do.
What about isn't Brait out this week?
I assume, would this bring you to Cade Otton? Haven't they been healthy scratching Kyle Rudolph? I don't even know if he's on the roster anymore, honestly.
I think Cade Otton might be like semi-playable. If
Cade Otton is an interesting Tom Brady, just get me a touchdown kind of play.
That's what 500. That's why he's on my mind, because I was like, what if I go Godwin and Cade Otton?
Yes, I'm in for that. And he would be a better option than Noah Gray too. And he should be out there unless your league mates are like true grinders.
He was out there on 55% of routes last week, and Brait was out for 38%. So, he's not going to be like an elite tight end in terms of route participation, but he could be like like a Gerald Everett type of dude. So in terms of routes, not in terms of production. Yeah. All right. Gabe Davis or Drake London? Drake London. Dobbins, Brandon Cooks, Devontae Smith, pick 2.
Dobbins, Devonta Smith?
No, it's Cooks, Devontae Smith, right?
I mean, I don't know. I think we saw from Dobbins was pretty solid last week. Justice Hill banged up. Like I think they actually like Justice Hill too. Like I think I don't think he's playing this week. They said early he's like week to week or whatever. So if Dobbins' competition for touches is now Mike Davis and Kenyon Drake, they're using him at the goal line. Like I'm actually kind of in on this.
Cooks has a 26% target share.
All right, nerd.
Come on. We're hoping Dobbins has a role. Cooks is their number 1 receiver.
All right, fine. Take the guys who get a lot of targets.
Gabe Davis or Brandon Ayuk?
Gabe, I'm fully back. I never left, frankly. It was all of it.
Oh, it's great. I love it. Michael Carter, Chase Edmonds, or Rashad White?
Michael Carter, Chase. Man, I hope your receivers are good, buddy. Carter.
I think Carter.
I
don't know. I just roll out Rashad White and pray.
No, don't roll out Rashad White and
live
pray.
A little. That is a tough scene, man. All right, Herbert or Damian Harris? Herbert if Montgomery sits, Damian Harris if Montgomery goes.
Correct.
Flex half point PPR: Palmer, Gallup, or Pickens? Should I pick up Zay Jones?
Honestly, you could probably pick up Zay Jones. Zay Jones had a really strong role before. I don't think he played last week because he was hurt, but Zay Jones.
I'd go Pickens and just, bet on that ADOT. He's got like a 20 ADOT. You need like 2 plays to get there. Olave or Kamara at flex?
Kamara.
Yeah. I don't like Olave this week, but Amari Cooper, Ayuk worth dropping over Dubs or Pickens? Not Amari Cooper. Keep in mind, you got to make the fantasy playoffs. Amari Cooper's going to be really good in the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, definitely not Amari Cooper. There's no doubt about that. I'm kind of fine dropping Ayuk over for either one of them, frankly, just in the hopes that they have a long-term ceiling that Ayuk, I just can't. In what universe is Ayuk now seeing Deebo Samuel absolutely crush? Is he usurping him for targets? I don't even see him usurping George Kittle for targets, despite Kittle coming back for 2 very quiet games. Like, I just can't imagine he comes back and is any more than the third target on his team. Whereas like Pickens and Dubs both have the talent to be the one on their teams. So
this guy on the right needs testosterone. Now, is that me or you?
I assume they see the screen as we see it. It's got to be me.
But you've got facial hair. So you clearly do have testosterone.
Get out of here,
Kamad.
No, if I had too much testosterone, I wouldn't be able to get in spreadsheets and grind this hard.
All right. Yeah, Kyle loves wide receivers, so he might need testosterone after all.
You got this.
We answered this one. Bateman in a walking boot. Don't love that, says Mojo. Don't love that.
Was it just like a walking boot, like he's going on a hike? He's just wearing nice boots.
These are not hiking boots.
Timberlands or whatever.
Penny or Higbee? Penny for Higbee in a trade. This guy has pits. God.
It would kind of depend what the other options
Are
are.
you starting Penny? If you're not starting Penny, fine. If you are, don't do it.
And because you can't play Pitts this week, are you like Chad,
like,
who
I
has
need
the Noah
Higbee.
Gray situation? Chad said he was it's a dynasty league. So like, yeah, I actually have Cade Otton rostered on one of my dynasty leagues. If you were as bad as a spot as he was, you could not pick him up in my leagues. I already have him. So if this is like that situation where it is a Noah Gray type of deal, if it is you are either playing Noah Gray or then you could trade for Higbee, I would take Higbee here.
All right. Start Miles Sanders or James Conner?
Miles
Sanders. Kirk, Godwin, Hollywood.
Godwin.
All right. Trade Juju for Higbee.
Yeah, Juju's dust, man.
I'm kind of with you, man. All right. I think we're getting kind of to the end here. I think we might actually cover all the questions this week. Let's see. Dawson Knox ruled out, having to rely on Taysom Hill. I think this might be the week, though, for Taysom. Is this Taysom week?
No, no.
Should I trade Gibson and Juju for Breece Hall, or Fournette and Waddle for Chase and Sanders? Wow, these are wildly different trades. All right, so Gibson and Juju for Breece Hall.
Absolutely.
Do that right now. Stop watching the show.
We're almost over. We don't need the final minute.
I wouldn't have told you that 20 minutes ago, but you can stop now and go make the trade. Fournette and Waddle for Chase and Sanders.
Also, yes.
That one's tougher. Because like Chase and Waddle are close, right?
Yeah. I still think it's Chase, though.
I still think it's Chase, too. So I'd probably go Chase and Sanders. But that one's
frankly,
close.
Sanders
you should watch the rest of the show before making
it's close enough that we want your last 3 minutes of time. It is close. Yeah. I think it's Chase and Sanders for me, though.
Yeah, I agree. They just cut Brown. So who?
I thought I saw that, but I wasn't entirely sure. It was Pharaoh Brown they cut. I was pretty sure.
Oh, they just cut Pharaoh Brown. All right. OJ Howard season. Let's go.
Yeah.
Start 2. Hollywood. McLaurin, Olave.
I'll go. I think I had a McLaurin versus one of these guys, probably Olave earlier, and you sold me on going Hollywood and Olave.
Hollywood, Olave.
Yeah.
Irv Smith or Conklin?
Conklin.
All right. Need one wide receiver in standard. Godwin, London, Cooks. I think it's Godwin.
It's Godwin, especially for the second thing that he said, the team total. It's standard. We're trying to hunt for touchdowns here. I get that maybe Brandon Cook's going to have a higher target share, sure, but like his share of the pie that sucks is not as good as Godwin's slightly smaller share of an awesome pie. It's a tasty, delicious
pie. Michael Carter or Breece Hall?
Oh, it's Hall. Like Carter is like, if you need to make waiver wire pickups for a backup tight end, like it's okay to cut Carter. It's Hall season. It's over. He's won. All
right, trade Singletary for Ertz or Hawkinson.
No, I'm keeping Singletary. They're giving him all the work for the running backs. They still have an awesome rushing quarterback, but like we want involved pieces of the best offense in the league.
And he's got Pitts, so you know
he's already got 3 points in the bank every week.
I understand, but yeah, I agree with Kyle. Josh Jacobs, AJ Dillon, or Dameon Pierce.
I'm not doing Dillon. I think I'm Dameon Pierce. I'm fine with Jacobs. I'll agree.
He's like an 89% snap share last week.
Yeah, he's legit. Yeah, he's legit. He's legit, and that's a good game environment. I mean, more so for passing, but just a lot of points should be scored in general. So, Josh Jacobs, you're right. It's Josh Jacobs.
All right, so this guy says he's trying to start between Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts in his
awesome.
2-person league, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? How'd you get both? Says Lewis. I completely agree.
It's like best ball, so it's so much different. But I did check, and some of my best teams are like Lamar Hurts teams. But like, you probably didn't need to draft Hurts. Like, you had such a windmill dunk in Josh Allen. He's so good, and I still keep him ranked as my QB1. But like, Hurts is my QB2. So.
How do you get both? Anthony said lots of talking. So he's a trade wizard. All right, DJ Moore or Brandon Ayuk? I think this is Brandon Ayuk, man.
I'm still going DJ Moore. I'm never quitting.
You know what? I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. That's some real commitment and courage. I chickened out. All right, Conklin or Disley? Yeah,
Conklin.
It's that bad. Thanks,
dude.
Pitts.
Tell that it's that bad to the guy starting Noah Gray. You're fine.
It's Conklin.
Yes.
All right. I think trade Brady for Olave. I'm going to go maybe a couple more minutes, try to get them all. Trade Brady and Olave for Kupp.
Obviously.
Yes. Guys, what's going on with Kupp?
Invite me into some of your leagues.
Kupp scoring more points than last year. Why is he available?
I'm going to throw out some feelers. I'm going to head out. Actually, I'm going to head out a minute early. I'm going to send some feelers.
Kyle's now leaving the show. Would you drop Pacheco for Darrell Henderson? I would drop Darrell Henderson for Pacheco.
Yeah.
All right. I need to pick up a quarterback next week. Derek Carr's on bye. I have to drop Antonio Gibson, Algier, Rashad White. Do not drop Rashad White. Tyler Lockett or Pickens. Do not drop Tyler Lockett or Pickens. I think your drop would be, God, it might be Gibson, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, I think I dropped Gibson. I think it is Gibson because Gibson he's about to get phased out. Brian Robinson's coming back.
I mean, if you're windmill dunking at receiver and Lockett is like never making your lineup, I guess you could drop him. But like Gibson is so much closer to being the one who is like everyone is dropping in 2 weeks.
I think we have 4 more questions here. Trade Dillon and Gallup for ETN and Devontae Smith. Yes.
Think so?
Yes. Devontae Smith is the best player in the trade.
Yeah.
And then I think I like ETN over Dillon in terms of like long-term ceiling.
I'm still not quite there yet, but I get it. So I agree with you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right.
Like Devontae Smith
over Gallup.
Greater Gallup.
Yes. Okay. So that's really what matters. Because I'm still like Dillon comfortably over ETN, but I'm not like slamming him over ETN, where Smith is easily a better play than Gallup. So yeah, there you go.
Sit Russ Wilson for Geno Smith indefinitely. Let's ride.
Do it. Dude, I am so, even if it's just out of spite, I cannot imagine starting Russell Wilson anymore. It is, my blood boils when I think about it.
Devontae Smith and Gallup for Christian Kirk. No. Pickens or Dobbs?
I go Dobbs. I think you said Pickens. Okay, cool.
Late 23 first for CEH and QB1 Dynasty. If you can get that, do it now. Stop watching the show.
Yeah.
All right. Someone dropped Deontay Johnson. Yes, you grab Deontay Johnson. I do not care what your team needs are.
Yep.
Trade Olave for James Robinson.
Nope.
Keep Olave. Thanks for watching. We answered all the questions. Very fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sending the questions. We will see you next week, next Friday, 1 p.m. Check out all the rest of our content. Check out the recap show on Rotoworld's football show. That'll be out late Sunday night, Monday morning. We're going to be going through all of the context from Sunday's game, so you can check that out. And we'll see you next week.
There we go.